Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shannon Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district.
What is so funny?
Because as we were prepping for the show, and you're saying how I always say a piece or two of technology or 70,000, because it's never just one or two.
We've never done one piece or two pieces of technology. It's always been
four or more.
More.
I feel like I've done an episode with like two.
I think early on, I think you did two pieces or two of technology.
But then when I theme it, then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all these ideas. We need to hear all of
my
ideas.
Because you have 4 topics today, which I can only assume means we have 57 pieces of technology that you can use in your classroom.
Just try and help, man.
But they're free, and you can use them in your classroom.
I like to share variety, so that way if there's different levels of students or different levels of teachers, or like how much time you want to engage in a website, like if you want to spend a bunch of time planning, or if you're just like, hey, I'm just chucking this at the kids and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
I can't, I like to help people.
I get it. By the way, I want to say what's up to all of your new listeners. You had a bang up week this past week. Thank you to everybody who listened.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, folks.
Pretty crazy. Our best week ever. Because all of you are in the same boat as everybody. And
learning new things.
Hey, we've made it this far. How do we close this out for the season?
Yeah.
And how do we come back in the fall?
Yeah. I don't think you even introduced yourself. Hi, you're Fuzz. You're my co-host.
Hi, I'm Fuzz. I'm her co-host. More importantly, I'm her husband.
That too.
Is that more important than co-host?
Yeah,
I guess a little bit.
Yeah. And we're on episode 59.
59.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah, we only got one more episode this season.
I know.
We'll be off next week for Memorial Day, and then it'll be the last week because that's when the school year ends.
It does, officially.
Sort of.
But what is time?
Week 9, 10, we're at 45.
We actually got out of the house today for a little bit.
We did. It was very exciting.
We had to go pick out flooring. Socially distanced.
Masked up flooring. Yes, it was good.
And we volunteered for Armed Forces Day.
We did. Mm-hmm. Cool.
So, what are we talking about on episode 59 of the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast?
59. So, basically, this is like what's next. So, we've been doing online learning for a while now. We have covered like appreciation. We have covered field day and end of year activities. Now, because we're teachers, and most teachers I know are kind of planners, we're looking at like, how do we handle this in the fall, which seems far off. Like, 3.5 months is a long way away. But if there's anything you want to test out with your students now, it's always kind of good at the end of the year, like, hey, I got this cool website. Who wants to try it? It's a good time to throw things at your kids to see if they test it out, if they like them. So that's why I kind of like to put, like, new experimental things. But really, education's going to look different in the fall. We don't know what it's going to look like. And each school, each district, each state, each country around the world, because I have listeners all over, like, it looks different for everybody. So I was trying to, and it kind of helps me brainstorm these things, think about topics that are probably going to be in need. Because even if we go back in the fall in some way, we're still going to have to be prepped for online learning.
Right.
And we've been prepping. We've all experienced it now.
Yeah, and your school may say, all right, we're opening back up.
Yeah.
But you may have families who say, you may be open, but we want to keep our kids home. Or your school might not be opening up. Or we might hit a second wave and...
Right. We just don't know. Mm-hmm. So we tried again, think of topics that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's best to be
forward.
like prepared, and that'll make your life easier if you know about these things now than if you are scrambling in.
And to test them out now.
August.
You can try them out. Mm-hmm. We have summer school actually coming up at our school. We're going to do online summer school, and It's totally optional, and it's kind of like enrichment activities, or if kids just want to have something to do during the day and try it out and learn some new things. So it's a great time to test things out. So our 4 main topics that we're going to cover are live streaming of some sort or recording of some sort, because if there's kids home for sick days, like somehow recording's happening. Whiteboard application, because there's a lot of explaining through video now, and everyone has a preference for whiteboard stuff. Virtual classroom, so creating a cutesy virtual classroom that if your kids physically aren't in your classroom but they click on a page, how to make that kind of a fun part of their day.
Yeah, it's a nicer experience.
And then community building. So ideas for how do you build community if you physically aren't in a building together? Because somehow, like this year at least, you were able to connect with your kids for over half a school year. So they knew you. They knew what to expect.
Right.
They knew your routines. And that's a huge part of being in the classroom. So what is that going to look like if you have to do community building online?
Right.
So
your school's a 7-8 middle school, and you're a 7th grade teacher, and you're meeting these kids for the first time.
Like kids coming from other schools, other districts. I mean, kids coming from who knows, it's just a lot. So those are our 4 like main kind of focuses. And I have a site or 2 for each of these sections.
Cool.
To kind of,
I'm only saying that because I have to enter all the information into the EdTech Directory at the end of this.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's good. EdTech Directory at smartandwi.com.
All organized by category and topic. So,
for now.
Live streaming. What have we been doing for live streaming? Currently, we've had this discussion. There's not a lot of budget money either. It's not like we're all gonna be like, oh, hey, Eventbrite, you want to come rock it out and like live stream from a school? Like, you just physically, we can't do that. So, what are ways of recording yourself, teaching lessons live, and then sharing it out with students? I'm calling it live streaming. It could be streamed, or it could be recorded, like pre-recorded. So if you have some kids in the classroom and some kids at home. So some ideas for that. If you're a Google school, we have Google Meet. So Google Meet, you can easily run through your classroom. If you wanted like a stream, it's a Meet, so you could put it up on a Chromebook in the back of your classroom, stream out. It would
be good if you're a Google school.
Yeah, the kids could join the Meet. So if they would join. Like you have kids in the building that are already there. They're talking, whatever. But if you have kids that want to join virtually, they could. They just click on the link, because in Google Classroom, if you don't know this, they did make an adjustment like during this whole quarantine thing. In Google Classroom, if you go to settings, all of your Google Classrooms have a Meet link attached to them.
Cool.
So your kids can drop right in to your Google Classroom, and it links right into a Google Meet. So you could do something like that. You'd probably need like a lapel mic, because you can't be in the front of the room.
Yeah, you won't be able to use your computer microphone.
Right. You can't be wandering around your classroom. Right. But that's an option. Also, like I've talked about Screencastify 1,000 times. That would work. The thing is, though, and that's something else, like pay attention. These sites that have been awesome about being free for the last 3 months in the fall, more than likely are going to go back to the paid versions, because they need to make money too. So, Screencastify usually have like 10 minutes. Right now it's unlimited. You probably have to change that.
Sure.
But an actual site, these are all actual sites, but a new site that we're talking about today, it's not really new. It's been around forever, but Screencast-O-Matic. What's cool about Screencast-O-Matic is that they have paid fancy versions, but they definitely have a free version. You click on it, you don't have to download, you don't have to do too much. You have to put it on, but you don't have to like do a bunch of extra stuff. The free version, you can record in your screen or webcam like per usual. You can trim recordings for free. You can save to your desktop. But what's also cool is you can publish in Screencast-O-Matic, and it can go to YouTube. So you can, if you're not already just like recording on YouTube and you want if you want to be working in different places or not be going directly into YouTube, it does save. So you can make a private account and do that way. So Screencast-O-Matic is an option for recording video. That's very simple to use. It's very straightforward. You have to be aware of the timing of it. Like I said, the free version, they kind of lock out after certain amounts of time. So just be aware of that. But it's another option that's very simple and very user-friendly. So it's a Screencast -o-matic, matic.com.
Okay.
And again, easy to record videos. Wouldn't be difficult if you want to do that. There was an option.
Yeah, there was one teacher that I saw on, I think it was on Twitter, maybe. Doesn't matter. I think he may have shared them. It was somebody else was sharing what he did. He created a separate Twitch account. Are you familiar with Twitch?
A little bit.
Your students will be.
Yes, they are.
Because that's where they stream like video game stuff. He streamed some of his classes via Twitch. And it's cool because the kids are like, it's kind of instant rapport with kids who use Twitch, and a lot of them do. You also kind of fall into like
regulations and guidelines and that kind of stuff.
And walking a fine line. Like cool teacher classroom,
Right.
But the it was pretty cool.
It's a possibility, yeah. An option. You would just like district guidelines would definitely have to be looked at with something like that.
So I mean, so there's an idea there, and
or for short videos or something like that. Maybe not like
right. The other part of that is it's real easy for your kids if you're using that to get distracted,
right?
And go
just
down
keep on going.
Like, hey, and now I'm watching a what's that game that people play? Fortnite. I'm watching a Fortnite video. People still play Fortnite, or do I sound like a boomer?
Well, no, they do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's some.
Sweet.
There's a few. But yeah, so some sort of live streaming because it's going to be something. So start brainstorming, playing around with websites. What works for you? What are you comfortable with? That would be like topic number 1. Second thought, whiteboard application. So when you're in a Google Meet or a Microsoft Teams or Zoom, or pick one because we're all using something different now. You got to be able to explain what you're talking about. So whether you're one-on-one on a computer or if you're, chatting to a class or however you're going to do it, every teacher has a preference for how to use a whiteboard. Like you have to be able to draw and talk and communicate in some way with what you're doing. So I have found, with our Google tools, you've got Google Drawing, which you can throw something in. If you're typing or doing annotations, we've done all of those extensions. You can throw a couple extensions on there. Google Jamboard, I haven't really talked about, but I know a ton of elementary teachers that are using Jamboard for manipulation for like word sorts and things like that. There's some cool things that teachers are using in our school.
That's like Google's version of a smartboard-ish kind of thing, right? It's like a collaborative whiteboard.
Yeah, but they have like you can go into your Waffle. Yeah. So you just go to your email, go into the Waffle.
Yep.
And then it's just like where you would find Classroom. There's a little option that says Jamboard, and it looks kind of like a yellow circle with 2 orange squares.
Kind of look like a whistle.
It looks like a J to me.
Yeah.
It's like
a
J.
Yeah.
And so it opens
up. I've got that in my I've got that in my work email now.
Yeah. So then
nice.
It's kind of like slides and it's kind of like drawings, and then you can create things and you can manipulate them. And there's a lot of options with that. So I know teachers at my school have talked about it. They've been using it more and more as they're getting comfortable with it for different things, which is pretty cool. So Jamboard is definitely an option for working interactively. You can also send Jamboards like to students so then they could manipulate words and stuff. If they're doing like a word sort or they're doing picture sorts and stuff like that.
I didn't realize that this was available. And our company is a Google-based company. And
now you're being distracted the whole rest of the show.
No, but now our company's going to be distracted
Yeah.
the whole rest of the lockdown.
Yeah, so that's definitely an option if you're looking for a whiteboard type tool. And
Great.
it's in your Google Waffle, which is great. I also know that people that like not everybody is a Google school.
Yeah.
So we're looking at other whiteboard options as well. Also, my math teachers are always looking for different whiteboard options because they don't always like the Google tools. They're more Microsoft users, which is fine. So Whiteboard Fox is a good one. It's pretty straightforward. You can just open it up. Make sure that I've found that if you go public with it, especially if you're just drawing and discussing things, sketching up some algebra problems and things like that, just go public with it because you're just going to be, mirroring your screen anyway.
Okay.
But it looks like graph paper, which is very helpful, especially for my math science teachers. And then you are able just to draw like a whiteboard, like any sort of whiteboard tool. What's cool is under options, you can add text, add photos. You can share it out. You can snapshot it. There's ruler. There's replay. So then when you replay it, after you're done like writing out the thing, it will like walk you back through it, which is pretty cool. So you can watch the drawing be redone. So if you're doing a multi-step problem and a kid gets lost, instead of having to redraw the whole thing for him, you can just hit replay and it will re-explain it, which is really nice.
That's cool.
You can just clear stuff out. So it's really just a very straightforward, user-friendly, not a lot of bells and whistles, but very helpful whiteboard. So it's whiteboardfox.com.
Cool.
So that's an option. And the other whiteboard option I have is Notebook Cast, which I was asking you about, which is cool. You can sign up, you can create an account, you can do all that kind of stuff, or you can just draw on it and figure out what you want to do. So with Notebook Cast, you pick the size of your like whiteboard space. So if you want iPad, portrait, or Galaxy Note, or like pixels, or however big you want to make it, you just click submit. Once you do that, it will make a little whiteboard for you. And then once it does that, it looks like this blank piece of paper. And you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because there's nothing here. And there's no tools that show up. So you're like, but you click on the 3 lines. So click on the hamburger.
Yeah.
Click on the hamburger. Then you can pick up your lines, your tools, your colors.
This one also seems to have a chat function.
Yes, which is cool. So other people, then you could have several students on it. Mm-hmm. And even if they are not in, say you're in a Google Meet.
Yep.
And you're having a discussion with one student and you're creating the problem and they're like, oh, so-and-so had the same question too, but they don't want to join the Google Meet because maybe they don't want to be on camera.
Yep.
You can send the link to another person.
Okay.
And then they can interact in the whiteboard with you. So then they could write or follow along or see the equations or numbers or whatever you're explaining.
Sure.
They could then see it and interact with the board at the same time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a nice collaborative tool as well. You just send the code to your guests and then they are able to have access to the whiteboard too. So you could have several students working, maybe some with cameras, maybe some just working on their computers.
Sure.
And that would give you some flexibility with that.
So that one is called notebookcast.com.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool.
By the way, our darling little dog is snoring like a freight train behind
her snoring's
me.
getting louder, which makes me a little sad too.
It is funny though, because if we're watching TV, we have to like turn up the volume so we can hear the TV over her.
I was on the floor next to her the other day trying to watch a show like within 5 feet from the TV. Mm-hmm. I had to move to the other side of the room. She's just so loud.
Oh, our little snoring dog. So, on that note, next.
Yep.
Topic 3 within our end of the year application. Virtual classrooms. So more and more teachers are doing these. I feel like teachers have done these more in the last year. But now that we're doing online learning, everyone's like, hey, if you can't decorate your real classroom cutesy, you can definitely bust out a virtual classroom. Now, what I find with virtual classrooms is some people have beautiful designs. They have spent so much time working all the little ins and outs of these, and they're amazing. And I'm like, holy cow. I prefer to simplify mine. I do use my Bitmoji, and I use furniture, and I like carpeting, and I put little books on my shelf. But if you haven't tried it, the greatest place to start is just with a Google slide presentation, but a Google slide is where it would end up. And then you can create, what I have done is I have one, it's called like I don't even know if I have it labeled. It's labeled like virtual classroom resources. I have my main background, and then I have a slide that's like chairs, and a slide that's bookshelves, and a slide that is accessories, and a slide, and I kind of keep all that together. And then I build one, I duplicate it, and then I put it in its own slideshow. So then that's what I share with students and parents. So that way I have like a working section.
You've got all your resources in one.
And then I have like the actual one, just like a tip to when you're organizing, because when you get cutesy, you want to save things, but you may not want to use them all the time. So you can take them out and put them in and that kind of stuff. So keeping it in two separate places is kind of nice. But virtual classrooms are those cute little classrooms where you see like a digital classroom, and you can click and the links are live, so it can lead to teacher directions. You can screencast a video for directions. You can click books to other sources that we've talked about before, like oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the book site right now. Epic for reading. You can do Storyline Online, where the books are read to you, so students can literally click on the bookshelf and then the books are read to them. You can, I did a whole one based on the Cold War, because I'm busting out the Cold War in like 3 days. So it offers a lot of flexibility. So I've got some TED Ed talks in there, some NASA stuff about the space race. We got some other things about the Berlin Wall. So it's just a brief overview, obviously.
If you're a middle school teacher, I recommend, or high school teacher. Also, perfect opportunity to throw like a little Easter egg in there, like a meme or something.
Yeah.
You know, that you can.
Yeah, if they click on like, oh, that was so funny.
Or like even just like hey, I really miss you guys. You know, like
on the clock. If you click on the clock in mine, it's reminders.
Okay.
So like time's running out.
Yep.
Here's the things you need to do. So when you click on the clock in my classroom, it does that.
Yeah.
And that just links to a Google Doc. So when it comes to virtual classrooms, you can find stuff anywhere. I will remind people, don't just screenshot and remove backgrounds from like work that is usually paid for.
Yeah. Don't get yourself in trouble. And
just be aware of the pictures you're using, or the furniture, like the different, like if you're shopping on Amazon, you screenshot something. But the tool I have that goes with this is remove.bg, which takes the backgrounds off of pictures. So if you are looking for like a table or a desk and you need to put it into a background, I know there's tons of background removers. There's a lot of tools out there, but this one is super easy. You just upload the picture literally on the homepage. You pick a picture, you upload it, you click open, it uploads it in about 20 seconds. You look at the picture, you're like, oh, that looks great. Or if you don't totally love it, you click edit. It gives you an eraser. You erase off the thing that you don't need. Or it will also put it into cute backgrounds for you if you want a cute background.
Can I ask on yours, and you can look at smartanddi.com, the shelves, like the shadowing, pretty good. You just use a drop shadow on that? Or?
I use drop shadow on my books.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because you're in Google Slides,
you can just use
you can use the photo thing to drop shadow, so it looks like it's the book's actually sitting on your shelf.
In the format section, you click drop shadow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good work. Proud of you. Looks realistic.
So I mean, you can spend hours putzing with these and making them fun. I feel like I'm going to add more. This one is literally the one I'll have my example for is from my Cold War unit, which because of online learning and school year ending has had to change drastically. So I just loaded in a few examples for students to work from. It's definitely not fully up and going like a full school year, but next year or like summer school, when I add things to it and I have different units. But that's how I offer choice to my students, is by having stuff like that built in.
And if you have different classes or things that you teach, you can have different ones for each one.
Yep. I know some elementary teachers where they have one for like reading and one for math and one for like general like announcements for parents kind of thing. And the backgrounds look different. Like one's outside, like welcome to the school day. Here's like announcements and stuff. And
it kind of makes it,
it makes it more personalized.
A little bit gamified. And not gamified, but just kind of like
you feel a part of the teacher's world.
Right.
Because you put in cute things that look like you. Like my computer really does have a black and white striped case on it.
Exactly like your computer.
I can never have enough polka dots in my classroom.
Yeah.
Like just things like that are little touches that are personal to me that you can put in your
great.
classroom. So, but again, remove.bg backgrounds to remove if you're creating a virtual classroom.
And then Google Slides is what you use to create that.
Yeah, for mine. I know there's lots of other ways to use it, but Slides is a very easy way to start that process.
Sure.
The last thing I want to talk about is community building. To me, whether you are face-to-face with kids or getting to know them over the summer or anytime, you have to get to know your kids. Like community building is such a big deal to have good classroom management, to help kids connect with families, to know their backstories, to know like where they're coming from, and trying to think of ways to community build.
Yeah.
Virtually is not easy to do because some kids don't want to be on a screen. Some kids don't want to be on a computer. Some kids are dealing with siblings and other things at home. And you're like, hey, join our fun classroom. And they're like, I can't. Like I have things. So ways to build community. I have talked a lot about creating things in various sites. So Canva and Adobe Spark.
Sure.
I have another one of those today. Photor. I would say Fotor.
Fotor.
It sounds like a D.
Fotor.
Correct. Fotor. .com. And it is like a collage maker. So picture collage. So you can like about me, about my dog, about my house, about
Lucas the
my
spider.
favorite things, about Lucas the spider, about things that make me happy. I was just thinking, kids sharing pictures kind of gives you a lot of insight into who they are very quickly.
Yep.
And kids love to find pictures. So if you're busting out some sort of photo collage of your favorite things or your favorite spots to read or something, it kind of breaks the ice. Very easy. Fotor is easy to create. You just create your little account, sign in with Google, pick your classic collage background. Make sure you don't pick the diamond ones you pay for. Obviously, they are the premium version. Yep. And we like to stick with free things.
Indeed.
And then you just drag and drop your pictures in, add add whatever details they want to with some descriptions.
Yep.
And what's really nice is they can just click share. They can email it to you. They could drop it into Twitter and that kind of stuff. This does connect to Facebook Messenger, which is just something to be aware of. Like they could share it with their families if they want to. But they can just share out the link and then, they can share little collages. So it wouldn't have to use Fotor. It's fun to play around with because I like a good photo option, and they have cute stickers. So then you can like pick stickers to drop into things, and that usually goes over well. And shapes and images and, all kinds of stuff and backgrounds and all the things. But some sort of collage-y type stuff. And doesn't have to be about me or just pictures of themselves, but something that draw them in.
Yep.
And last week we had talked about like scavenger hunts and stuff like that. But for community building, we're going to go back to our whiteboard sites because we've discussed your kind of community building thing that you do. Yeah,
we do what we call Fuzz Explains Friday. And it just started as a, like, let's be fun. Goofy and show off my personality a bit to employees. And
the biggest thing, though, is it's done on a
whiteboard.
So we just talked about digital whiteboards. And there's all these options with digital whiteboards. Yeah. Well, so we call them like Whiteboard Fridays.
Yeah. So, there's actually it's a really great learning tool. And I think the Whiteboard Fridays are free from moz.com if you're learning SEO, search engine optimization. Now, a little bit higher level kind of thing that might not be right for students. But if you have a student who's interested in it, there's a Whiteboard Friday on there. But I think we started doing ours before they started doing theirs, and it was just really like I started explaining something to somebody once
and drawing it on a
whiteboard, and somebody said, here, let me put you on our Facebook, like our internal Facebook Live. We've got a group for our employees, and we now have Slack, but we were using Facebook primarily, and it just kind of became a thing. And
so what it is that you pick an idea of something fun topic that you want to talk about. So explaining random things.
I was talking about when I was in radio of how why you hear the same songs on the radio all the time, and I gave the formula as to like it's like they want you to hear the same songs all the time, and here's why. And I went through how that process is done, and I've done things like the difference between Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting, and
so kids
how to plow snow.
Yeah, so it's like random things that you have knowledge about. So the kids basically, or you as an adult or whoever wants to do it, but you teach others about something that you're knowledgeable about that maybe not everybody would know information about.
Yep.
And then you explain it in fun little pictures and like doodles on a whiteboard.
Yeah, just lighthearted and fun.
So for community building, this would be a great way for kids to kind of get to know or learn from each other. That's not necessarily like the academics, like group work that you're doing in class, but hey, like I know a lot about, I have a student whose mom and family, they like run a greenhouse. So she can explain so much about plants. I'm like, holy cow, like and I love to garden. So then I'm like, hey, what do you know about this? And then she's got these great tips. So it's a really cool way that you could do it digitally and have kids kind of show their expertise in something that they have a lot of knowledge about or passion, and like 5 minutes or less, quick, kind of sketched out while they're talking. They don't even have to be on the screen. They could just show their whiteboard.
Yep.
And share something cool with others and build community that way would be kind of cool. For just another idea, because I know we're always trying to figure out like what are we going to do with online community building, and that's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
So our topics, live streaming, whiteboards, applications of sorts, virtual classrooms, community building. In the fall, we're going to have to come up with new ways of doing this. So hopefully everyone can kind of maybe test some of these sites out before the year is over. For
sure. And we'll be here for you on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. And if you find something that you're like, this is great, it's really working well for us, because everybody's got everybody's kind of in a similar situation.
Yeah. So
if you have something that's working, share it, and we'll obviously credit you for it if you send it our way. Yeah. And if it's
fun to learn from other teachers and share your ideas. And if you have cute virtual classrooms, I will happily share those out, because I think
they're adorable. Yeah,
they are. So thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at SmartNWI. And if you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in this episode, you can visit smartnwi.com or join us on Facebook. And new episodes each week, except for next week because we're taking the week off. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed on this podcast and the Smart and WI website are those of the author Shanna Martin and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed in this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you as described, but we hope they do. And we will talk to you again real soon here on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast.